All right, and we're live. Welcome back to another episode of The Joy of Planting. So, I have decided that I kind of want to change the format of this up a little bit. Um, I'll probably be dropping the rotating weekly guest portion and just focus on uh, the design aspect of it for now. I've decided I want to see if I can't design a course in 24 hours. Since the first couple holes of this plot I've gotten done. I mean, they're not totally finished, but I've got the bulk of the work done in an episode each. So, which would make 18 hours for 18 holes and then another 6 or so to polish. So, I'm going to give this a shot and see where we get with this. Hey Dylan, how's it going? Thanks for stopping in. So, that being said, I'll just jump right into it because I don't want to waste time now that I've put a clock on myself. So we're just going to jump right into this hole, which honestly, there's definitely a pretty solid one here already. Just like a big sweeping something around this corner probably. And a green side around here-ish. Hey Terry, how's it going? Yes, I have no idea what I'm gonna do with this new format exactly. It was always good having a guest to talk to, but then Andre and my shows would be very similar, so I wanted to kind of change it up a little bit. We'll see how this goes. Always experimenting. But it's just a little different, just kind of not having another voice to play off of. But we'll figure it out as we go. Or I'm completely making this up as I go. Alright. So I like that green. I gotta figure out around where the player's ball would be landing. So somewhere around here, probably. It's way downhill, which means that you can get like a crazy bounce forward if you land it right. Hey Kessler, how's it going? Yes, LiDAR is a thing now. I have not tried it out yet. I have way too many things going on at the moment, but I'll give it a go eventually. Just not yet. Let's try something like this. Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't necessarily planning on this originally, but it got to the point where I was churning out almost a hole an hour anyways, just because I wanted to, I wanted to get most of a hole done for an episode because it's kind of that nice, there's that payoff of you get to see, the folks start something and then finish something in that same episode. But we'll see. I'm not sure about. Of course, I'm not sure about any of this yet, so we'll figure it out. Plus, I'm trying to speed design and talk at the same time, which is I'm sure it'll take some getting used to. I'm not really, or I'll try to talk everybody kind of through what I'm thinking as I'm thinking it, but it'll probably take me a Andrew Green. I'm not sure who Andrew Green is off the top of my head. Not like AJ Green, the football player, right? Alright. think I'm definitely putting a bunker here. I might bring the fairway out a bit. Best of luck fighting the other two guys for the for Augusta. Yeah, I figure once I know Terry's doing or he has a couple ideas. I realize I probably shouldn't talk too much about it in case he doesn't want to share any of it publicly just yet. But he's got a couple ideas going, I know. There's a couple local-ish courses I've been that I might want to do at some point, but again, I have not looked into it at all yet, and I probably won't for a little while, so I'm not too worried about it. Ah, nice. Let's see here. Oh, you're redesigning it. Okay, that's interesting. That's not a bad idea. But it's one of those things where, like, I feel like that wouldn't necessarily work as well with Augusta as it would with some courses, just because like it's already so manufactured in many ways that the course itself doesn't really resemble the land it's on. The land has been changed so much based on the course that it makes that exercise of, hey, what if what if you took the land and designed an alternate course on it? Like, are there better courses laying around? Like, well, like that land didn't exist. It's not. It's all good. Just my take on things. I have no idea what I'm doing with this green just yet. Other than, hey, it should be hilly and stuff. I don't know if I like the, oh, don't undo. That's not what I wanted to do. Doesn't have to be finalized yet. I could make a shelf here if I'm feeling particularly sadistic. Let's try raising this a bit. Just so it doesn't roll too far off the end there. If I throw a pin there, that way you can roll it in. Nice, Dylan. That sounds cool. Alright, so I like the general hole shape here, but I like the ridge, but right now it's just way too drastic, so I'm gonna have to use the flatten tool a bit just to reduce that crazy taper so that's playable. The goal here is dangerous but doable. I don't want to. I liked the kind of crazy, the crazy land stuff that was going on here. Oops, I want to raise, not lower. So it's just trying to retain the character here without just completely making this hole unplayable is going to be interesting. It might take a little bit of tweaking. But overall, this has some serious promise, I think. To lower this lip probably. It looks cool, but like that's a really gorgeous second shot. I'd love to be able to show that off. I can drop this bunker. I think there's going to be a bunker here and then another one over here, so I can do a little bit of prep work while I'm macro sculpting. That's gonna work, I think. That's a solid area for 2 bunkers. I like that. That looks awesome. And then I might throw another one up over here on this corner. Can't remember the bunker style I was going for on this course. If I was trying to do a cleaner or more rustic style. I have to go check the first couple holes. How far am I? Okay, looks like I'm about 11 minutes in. Okay, so this one's a little on the rugged side. And this one is... Okay, this one's kind of much cleaner. So obviously I don't have a quite consistent style yet. We'll see. Actually, how long is this hole? I didn't even think about it. Oh, ooh, it's 500 yards. This is going to get interesting. So I definitely want to leave the area short open. Though I might want to I want to lower this just a touch, because it's sitting higher than the green, and that might make it play a little weird. So I'm going to lower that and raise this area over here just a touch. Also, the backdrop for this is going to be awesome. I could totally throw like a beach down here or something. But actually, I kind of want to raise this entire area. It's sitting a little too low to what would be an ocean area for my tastes. So I'm going to just raise this whole thing about 10 feet, I think. Still downhill, but it won't be, at water level. This should work. Tee shot might need a little tweaking. I like the idea, but you got to make sure that it's interesting but playable. So we'll see how that goes. Now, do some fairway. I'm not sure how I was doing all the, I think I was doing all the fringes this way on the last couple holes. So, again, I haven't touched this file in a couple weeks, so I don't remember what I was doing with it. Hey Eric, how's it going? Thanks for stopping by. This is, I'm trying out my new format of just me talking at you guys versus talking with somebody. It's a little more difficult than I thought it would be. Granted, carrying a conversation with somebody and designing is a little difficult, but carrying a conversation with what is essentially nobody is, I think, a little harder actually. There's nobody else to kind of fill airtime. So I can't let somebody talk and then think about what I'm doing and then respond to that person. I just kind of have to talk. Not that I can't have any dead airtime, but I don't want to sit here for 5 minutes either and just not say anything. But whatever. We're making all of this up as we go, so I'll if it doesn't work in a couple episodes, then I can change the format up. But I wanted to try something different, so we're going to give this a go. I'm probably placing these spline points a little far apart, but we'll see. I think I place mine a little further away than a lot of people do, which for me makes it a little easier to get smooth curves like this. But I think the downside is potentially getting those wavy edges a lot. But I've been fortunate. I haven't ran into that problem a whole lot. All right. Close, fill, and smooth, and then throw in some rough texture. And this should be ready for a playthrough then. Okay, that's a great view off the tee. I kind of like that idea of basically driving over the green on number 3. It's quirky, but it's the right amount of quirky in my opinion. That tee box obviously needs some work. But yeah, I'm digging this one so far. This shows a lot of promise. Ooh, that approach shot looks awesome. The green is absolutely nuts, which might be a good thing. Not sure yet. It definitely needs some tweaking, but it could be awesome. I also can't remember what the hell I'm doing with the greens on this one. So, I might need some tweaking as well. I might want to tweak this a little. I don't know what I did with that. I think I wanted it to come around a little more, and I wanted it to kind of intersect with the green over here instead of over here, but it doesn't look terrible, so I might leave it for now. Definitely got to move that pin. Pin one here is fine, I think. I'll just add some prelim hole locations. Here's probably fine. This one's nasty, but it's playable. And you can use like this bank over here to access it. And then I don't want to save all of like the tucked pin spots for pin 4, but for now that's fine. What do I need to do to this one? Oh, T-box, obviously. Gotta clear out. Like I can leave some brush relatively close to kind of frame stuff, I think, but you don't want it right in front of the tee. So that's probably solid. Are you finding all new things to not do? It's funny. How long do you think it's gonna take before they come up with a LiDAR based design contest? We're just giving you crap, Jacob. It's all good. I can't judge because I have way too many active projects going at the same time as well. I just eventually finish them is the difference. Well, not all of them, just most of them. Sometimes it just takes several months before I get to it. but you have like the the weirdest kind of what's the word? Issue's the wrong word, but just that whole thing of like I completely get where you're coming from of I have all of these ideas and, not enough time to actually implement all of them. But it's also you're definitely that guy of I hate this game, why do I play it? And then also still come up with the like I have all these ideas that I want to do, and then you start them and then just like, "Oh yeah, I hate this game. Why am I doing this again?" It's an interesting dilemma to have. There we go. I gotta throw some bunkers out here. I'm just not sure what exactly I want to do with them. Well, I have time to think about that. I will do the green side ones. Let's see. Yeah. Do something like this, maybe. Yeah, I think we'll just do it around that way. That works. Yeah, my main problem myself is that I like starting stuff way more than I like doing the finishing touches. Like the idea part is a ton of fun and I fly through that. And then I get to the point of okay, well I have all my ideas down and now I just need to do like all of the polishing, and it's so tedious and I hate doing that. So I get part of the way through that and then just decide, "Oh god, I'm so tired of this. I need to start something new." We'll go a little ruggedish on the bunkers. Not pure jagged edges, but just a little more wild in the overall shapes versus trying to make all the edges really clean. Especially since I'm trying to do this quickly, so I think there'll be a lot of design decisions based on what I think I can do the most efficiently on this one. It's funny you say that, Jacob. That's kind of how Terry and I got started on collabs and stuff, or Eric, Terry, and I, because I was telling him that I love doing all the idea stuff and just throwing the holes down, and doing like the big picture stuff like the macro sculpting and stuff, but just hated the tedious detail work. And Terry, I don't know if he necessarily enjoys it more, but I think that's what he thought he was good at was the tedious kind of planting stuff and beautifying and that sort of thing. And he just felt he wasn't as good at coming up with whole concepts. So that's where we got our first collab started. It all kind of snowballed from there. This is a crazy deep bunker. I might have to do some playtesting on this one. I love it. It's insane, but it's absolutely wild. But I just want to make sure that you can actually get out of it. That works. Hmm. I really like from what I've seen of Reeb's vision on it so far. So I have no qualms about him doing whatever he wants with it. If I'm being realistic about it, I don't think any of us really had any end vision for it. So So somebody jumping in that does have a little bit more vision of what they would do with it is probably a good idea. Oh yeah, hi other Matt. Hi Taylor, how's it going? In case you missed it, I'm trying out a new or a slightly different kind of idea with the show. I'm trying to design a full course in 24 hours and kind of dropping the weekly guest bit for now. I might have folks on if they want to come on and chit chat, but I'm, since Andre's show is also doing the kind of designer a week spotlight thing, and honestly, I think his format is better suited to that. I kind of want to just let him do that and see if I can't differentiate what I'm doing from his. So mine might be focused more on the kind of nitty-gritty stuff. Well, I'm glad to hear I could help, Eric. Not I liked what you had. But it's just it's really hard sometimes of as you've seen Thistle, and that's kind of one of those same thing. It's a solid course. I just have no vision for it, so everything's way more difficult uh, than it should be because it's basically just like a creative block. I'm just looking at it going, this is fine, but I hate it. There's a car alarm going off outside my window. I'm going to check real quick just to make sure it's not mine. I don't think it is. One sec. Yep, okay, I'm back. We're good. It's funny, I don't know why. I'm struggling with ideas for this course just a little bit. I mean, granted, it's only been one day, so it's hard to, make vast judgments like that, but I had no problem doing holes in an hour for the first couple when I was actively talking with people, and the goal wasn't designing stuff in an hour. It's just talking through the process and getting a guest on to give their thoughts on design stuff. And now that it's okay, well, I'm going to do stuff really fast for this course and just see how efficiently I can go through the whole process. All of a sudden now it just feels harder. Or more difficult, I should say. See you in a couple minutes, Eric. And all I'm doing right here is just adding a little visual interest to the fairway, so that's not so perfectly flat and it looks crazy rugged. I still got to figure out where I'm going to put my fairway bunkers, but we'll figure it out. Also, edges need smoothing. Ooh, not that much smoothing. So I figure I want to get all the ideas in and maybe do just start on the major planting ideas in my hour. That should give me that should get me to the point where I can finish them up in the last kind of 5 to 6 hours I'd have after I do all 18, assuming I can do all of them in an hour each. Also, I think the difficult part about this is going to be just some of these I'm going to have an immediate idea for, like this one, where, it's like it's this coastal hole that swings down this big piece of land that was already there. So this is a kind of easy one to find the hole sitting there already and not need to do too much kind of forcing an idea in there. But I'm sure some of them are going to be harder, and with an hour, it's really hard to kind of sit and let your ideas marinate. I think it's going to be difficult having to just come up with an idea really quick because I need to implement it, and just getting it right on the first go. But the good news about this course idea of, I think, just the way it was, the general idea of, or the general style I was going with kind of suits this style of design better. Like, you're not going to be able to pull something like this off with a really kind of polished, manicured look, because that just takes way too much finicky stuff. And things like, I'm not going to put any heavy rough texture down, so that would be hugely time consuming. So this is that's probably good. So that's a huge time saver. Alright, I need some fairway bunkers. This hill, is a great spot because it's already raised, and it's kind of an interesting spot to have a bunker. So I gotta see if I can figure out, some kind of shape that I think fits into that landform that looks okay. So I definitely want one there. I should put at least one further down, or a couple further down, where my landing area is. So there's my box. I might be able to drive over that. So I definitely need a deeper one, or one further back. Let's do a kind of crazy shape like this. That'll work. I might do just a little kind of smaller one here. Not because it's in play, just because I think those two bunkers needed a little bit of visual balancing. I'm also debating if I want to throw a big bunker in here, or if I want to leave that as kind of like a natural drop off into some, like, a waste area or something. Or it could have it be a drop off into kind of a beach area. I'm not sure yet. The problem with the beach area is I could probably, I could spend several hours just doing that and getting that to look decent, so that might be a no-go for this idea. Although, I probably wouldn't end up doing something like that for this idea, even if I wasn't putting this kind of artificial restraint on me, or on myself. Just because nobody's going to want to watch me futz with a beach for 6 hours, or however long I would end up playing with it before I got it looking right. And for a course that I want to do basically entirely on stream, there's no, there's not a whole lot of a reason to do that anyway. So I suppose the whole time limitation isn't too much of an extra constraint for some of these ideas, mainly because I'd want to design it relatively quickly anyways. So I want to be able to hit all of the major points and kind of demonstrate how you can do it and think through it. Not necessarily that you have to do it that way, but a way to do it without making people watch me plant for 20 hours or however long it usually takes me to do it. Because depending on the style, of course, sometimes I can do all of the polishing and planting in a couple hours, but sometimes it just the planting takes about half the actual design time. It's just insane. Alright, so I'm at 36 minutes. I mean, all things considered, this is a really good clip. So I've got most of this idea down. I have 4 pins. The green might need some tweaking, but it's an entirely playable hole as is. But I still need to plant it. So I'd like to be able to get at least 10-15 minutes of kind of like major planting ideas in, since I don't want it to be a totally barren course. I want some trees and stuff on it. So yeah, I mean, no offense to Griff or anything. It's the I absolutely do not mind people who do planting on while streaming. And you can do whatever you want, but I just figure since I'm trying to make a show of it, it needs to be a little bit more content dense, for lack of a better word, versus just the, hey, I'm going to design and I'll just stream it for 6 hours, and you can pop in and out, and what do you want to, you can pop in and out. You can just, like, if you're catching up on it on video on demand, you can just like fast forward through most of it and just get broad ideas of, oh, hey, he did this for an hour, and then he did this for an hour, and that was that. And then you get the broad strokes of how you do the whole. Whereas if you're trying to make something that's a little more engaging throughout, I don't want to spend that much time doing that stuff. I gotta say, just for throwing ideas down, this hole's come out really cool so far. Ooh, and there's a birdie. That definitely needs smoothed out, though. That's a very illegal pin. Alright, I get sneak peek at number 5. Looks like a little weird short uphill par 3. This one will be interesting. I have no idea what I'll do with that. Like, the number 4 here just absolutely jumped out at me from the start. Like, it was screaming at me. Whereas I look at the area for number 5, and I have no clue what to do with that. Well, I was going to put a bunker here, but I might put some trees and stuff just to frame this area off. I want, oh, I can't do too much up there because I want to leave that space open for a green. Also, I don't want to cut off number 6 too much, so that leaves my plantable area pretty small. Let's sink this in, just so it looks a little different. Throw something out here. I'm not sure. That's a decent start. No worries, man. You should have seen some of my first designs. They were just absolutely awful. It takes a lot of practice to get to this point. I want something interesting going on behind this hole. I think I'm gonna suck into my design time too much on this idea, but we're just gonna throw something there really quick. Like, you know, it's a big island. It has to have a lighthouse in here somewhere, and it's me, so. Throw a rock or something, you know, throw some hills in there just so it's not, it blends a little. I'll undo that last one. It just looked a little off. I'll throw something like that. That works for now. And probably a tree or two. What are my lighting settings? I'll take a look in a minute. I don't remember what the exact settings are. I think all of the actual I don't think I changed anything except time of day. We'll just throw in here. That works. Yep, and then let them interfere with that hole. Perfect. That's good enough for now. And what am I looking for? Oh, objects. Object, building, lighthouse. Now what kind of lighthouse do I want to put here? Does that one look okay? That looks solid. I could do that one. I don't want to try this little one. That might be too small. That's interesting. Whatever. You can make that creative decision later. For now, I can just throw one down. Yeah, I think this challenge is going to be harder than I gave it credit. No worries, Eric. I think you say that, but your course looked fine to me. You can take a top 5 course and call it crap. So that's quite the kick. Hey now, no matter how bad it looks, it always is worse in the dark. Because even if it looks terrible, at least it's playable. If it's dark, it looks terrible and is unplayable. Yeah, these trees are blocking my lighthouse. I need to move those slightly, just over a bit. Yeah, that works. I feel like there's got to be a bunker on the inside corner here, but I am not sure how to go about that. I think I can just raise this up so that there's actually a pan that I could put bunker there. And then do flatten so that there's even more of a pan there. There we go. Also, I'm going to go back to the raise tool, drop this just a bit, because this null here is just kicking anything just really hard right. Oof, I'm getting close on time. I'm going to just raise this slightly. So, why is there still grass in my bunker? That's not helpful. Don't know why it's doing that. Oh well. Because I can definitely get like a really good rough sketch in an hour. But, assuming that I have about 20 minutes on each hole to do all of the polishing, this might be really hard. I will definitely give it a go and see how far I can get in 24 hours, but it might be like a 40-hour course challenge. Tips on boreal bunkers. Let's see. I can't sculpt your bunkers very deep at all in the boreal theme or the grass on the edge. I'm not sure. I honestly haven't really... Because I've definitely noticed that boreal bunkers behave weirdly compared to how they do in other themes. Like the textures just behave differently to sculpting and stuff. So I can definitely see where you're having that problem. Or I was having the same problems, but like none of my bunkers are very deep in my major contest course. And it's the only one I've done in 2019, so I'm not sure I have any tips for that. Other than don't design deep bunkers in boreal. I mean, that's not great advice because it's so limiting, but I don't really have anything for that specifically. That can work. Also, Sir Shanks a lot. Uh, you know, like 5 hours in this game is absolutely nothing as far as design time goes. So don't feel bad if you haven't like found anything in 5 hours. Like I've got a solid grasp for the tools, and it still takes me at least 40 hours to do anything in this game. Like I think I'm probably one of the faster designers in the community, and I'm like running into this course with the sole purpose of just screaming through a design as quickly as I can while still doing a good job. And I still think that realistically that this would take 40 hours to make into a decent course. Like I think that's kind of my rule of thumb, is that it requires at least 40 hours to do it for a good course. Like there's probably some exceptions, but nobody's going to go way under 40 hours and make something good. Or at least something uncompromised. I mean, that's a solid idea. 'Cause to be honest, I just in general, I very rarely sink the bunkers down or like actually sculpt the bunkers down that much, because I do all of the sculpting ahead of time, and I'm mostly just using the raise tool to raise the back and lower the front to add that depth to it. Well, so far this hole looks really nice off the tee. It needs something planting wise, but yeah, I think I can still do an hour a hole and get like good ideas, like this down, but I'm not gonna end up with finished products in an hour, or even like an hour and 20 minutes is just. I think that's a little unrealistic in order to get a really good product down. But we'll see. Oh, I have to test that bunker. First, I am going to. This one needs a little flattening. So the trick to, for those of you who don't know, one of the tricks to sculpting bunkers is you actually want, if you're using the flatten tool, you want to raise it slightly, because by default, anytime you run a flatten tool pass on them, it'll automatically raise it or lower it by like a foot, 6 inches, 8 inches, somewhere in there. So in order to run a flattened pass and have a net zero elevation change, you have to raise it by whatever that amount is, like a foot, 10 inches or something. So if you raise it to 8 inches, that's the equivalent of lowering your bunker pan by about 8 inches. Yeah, Eric, I'm not too far off there. I think it'll depend on the style of course that I'm designing, because some projects will go faster than others, and some projects require less time-intensive polishing. But oh, I need to go put one in this bunker. See if that's playable. think 60 hours is pretty close to as quick as I can do most of the time. I think I've done courses in as few as 40 or 50. If if it's like one of these things where I get the idea right the first time and can throw the idea down quickly and it never needs changed at any point. But stuff that doesn't come as naturally, that needs a lot more kind of redoing, that takes longer. Let's see. This is a great start. I just think the bunker still doesn't still not receptive to tee shots. Like I am unable to hit the fairway so far. So, I think I need to just undo the slant a little bit. I kind of want to raise that or lower those bunkers a bit. They're just, I like them sitting up above the fairway like that, but they look just a little goofy, in my opinion. Is there a course theme I recommend for starters? I don't think there's any themes that are, quote unquote easy. There's some that are definitely harder to look good or to make look good. Desert is kind of a tricky one to get right, so I probably wouldn't do a desert course or a step. It's basically the same thing. Anything, a lot of your basic ones are fine. Boreal's a solid one. Countryside, rustic, those are all solid choices. Autumn's fine. For newbies, I generally kind of recommend. I kind of agree with both of those comments. Those are both solid choices. Whoops. That was terrible. That's what I get for trying to read comments and putt. I definitely think that you just kind of want to avoid trying to do anything too over the top till you get a better sense for tools. I see a lot of people who attempt a RCR as their first course. I highly recommend against that. Because those are so hard to get right, and you have to have a really good grasp of how the tools work in order to effectively translate something in real life, versus just going with what the game gives you that you can do with fantasy courses. Or I should say not fantasy courses, but fictional courses. Because fantasy courses are another one I generally recommend against, because making something playable with 300 400 foot elevation changes, or a lot of the other kind of wonky-ish stuff that you'll see in fantasy courses, that's really hard to pull off. So I would probably save that sort of stuff for a project further down the road. I would generally recommend just starting, you don't have to start boring per se, but keeping it simple. You don't need 300 feet elevation changes or crazy huge set pieces and 30 waterfalls and all that sort of stuff. It's the first course or two is definitely about getting a feel for the tools and how playability and that sort of thing works in this game. Also, Eric, you and Terry, you weren't streaming tonight, correct? So it's not an issue if I cut into your time slightly. I think I'm right about at my hour point, so I'm not sure I want to do any more actual designing, but I don't necessarily need to cut my stream off at an hour either, just because if we've got if there's stuff going on in the chat, just tips and discussions for newbies and stuff. You certainly can put in 30 waterfalls, you just don't have to. What kind of tees do I have going on other holes? I think these ones are just square. Okay. I didn't do anything fancy with those. I don't even know where I'm going to put all of these other T's. I could put one here and have you actually drive over the third green. Yeah, what Eric said. I mean, being able to help kind of newer designers is one of the major reasons that I started doing this. Well, that and like I thought there's a lot of guys in the design community have really great ideas and stuff to share with the community without necessarily having like a good platform for it. So that was kind of what I was aiming for here. Now the show's definitely morphed a little bit as I've gone, and it probably will continue to morph as I go because I'm still just figuring all this out and making it up as I go. But we're always happy to have new designers in the community, especially ones that aren't bringing in a lot of ego baggage and that sort of thing. You just have to go in understanding that the designer is hard and you're not necessarily always going to get everything right your first go, and be open to criticism, or not criticism per se, but like constructive criticism, because there's definitely like my first, honestly, probably like at least 10 courses were all bad. There's a couple highlights in there where I stumbled into something good almost more in spite of myself than because of anything I was, or more by accident than on purpose. But you learn like, oh, I'm not paying enough attention to this, or this is how you pull this off, or that sort of thing. You learn as you go, and I'm still learning how to do stuff. And I have, I don't even want to think of how many hours I have in the designer over the 3 games. It's definitely over 1,000. It's probably in the 2,000 hour range. I gotta say, this hole's really cool so far. Yeah, I'm looking at it going like this deserves a little bit more time investment than an hour. It's, I can get the ideas in 18 hours probably. Nice. I think I had over 1,000 in TGC 2. I'm not anywhere near there yet in 2019. But it's still like 600 something. It's not a small amount of time. Gotta go see if this pin is playable. Yep, I mean, if you can get that close in 4,000 hours, that's impressive. Well, I don't think probably don't want to do any serious designing from here on out on this one if I want to keep it in hour chunks. But we'll figure it out. Oh, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I also got to figure out how many hours I would count as being allotted already, because I've done 5 of these streams, so this would technically be hour 6. Um, but I know one of those episodes I didn't open this at all, and one of them I spent over half the episode doing something else. So I really have maybe 3.5 hours invested in this one so far. So, like, I could call this hour 4, and that would kind of fit. Of I probably spent about an hour on 1 and 2 and 4. 3, I think I only got 20 minutes to a half hour into. So I can go back and do stuff on that one, but I probably won't touch that yet. But also, I also did. I gotta think. I think when I did hole 1, I also did the rest of this plot. Or no, I had pre-made this one. Not that this took this long. I think I just did a really quick, sloppy island thing. So that probably took 20-ish minutes. And then I routed stuff with Mr. Vinegar for about an hour. I think that was a full episode. So I know this one was the starting episode, and then I did the routing with other Matt. And that was an hour episode. And then I jumped into this one. That took an hour. I did that episode with Terry. I think this was left over when Dan stopped in. And when Jeremy stopped by, I didn't touch this one at all. So that would be, it would be 3.5 episodes. Or 4.5, including this one. That's what I'm missing. So yeah, I'll figure out how I want to time it later. I right now this is about 4.5 episodes. Maybe I'll round down just because I certainly wasn't designing efficiently time-wise, because I'm trying to get guests incorporated, things like that. Here, I can, if you're interested, I can give you a quick playthrough of what I've got so far. And yeah, no problem, man. We're like, it's a pretty friendly community. I think most folks are always happy to give new guys a helping hand for folks who want to play around with it. I mean, I think there's, as long as you're not one of the handful of people who, like, there's definitely folks who hop in the designer and just, they're not necessarily looking for feedback and to improve. It's just hey, look, I made this. It's awesome. Everybody, it's that, as long as you're not just looking for, like just nonstop kudos and that sort of thing. And basically, it's like if you can take some feedback that isn't overwhelmingly positive, then you'll be fine. There's definitely that handful of people who start doing it and aren't particularly good, but nobody's good when they start. It's just the people who aren't good and who still believe that they're really awesome at it right off the start, and they're not. So then when people tell them, like, look, this needs a little bit of work, but you're on a good start, and then they just get angry. As long as you're not that guy, then you're good. Then you'll find this a very, very welcoming community. Number 2 definitely came out really nice. Gotta say, I kind of got, I guess, lucky is the right term there, where, well, I suck at putting, where there's some solid, it's, Kessler, it's not one person. There's a lot of people who do that. It's always interesting to watch. Well played, Eric. Hey, how's it going? Thanks for stopping by. But yeah, there's and I won't name names, but as somebody who does all the, or a lot of the reviewing for the course database, we get a lot of people who aren't good at this game, or who aren't good at designing, and will throw what is essentially an auto gen course, or at least on that level of. I can think of several individuals that are specifically, you know, blatant examples. But again, not naming names. That's not the point here. There is one guy who I find funny. Again, no names, but like he's designed a handful of stuff for the database, but so he'll submit a course, and so far like they're usually pretty borderline, where like they could be accepted if you're in a really generous mood, um but they just, as a general rule, aren't quite good enough. It's like, okay, I'll reject it, and I'll put the usual comments in the not approved thread for feedback. And then he's never ever come for feedback ever. But so somebody will reject his course, and within a couple hours he's just resubmitted that exact same course again. And then they'll reject it again, and he'll just resubmit it again, and he'll just keep doing this until you just sit on his course for a week, and don't reject it, but just let it sit in claimed. Matt didn't see my idea about the tee box on that lighthouse hole. Oh, you want me to put like a tee box back there with the lighthouse? I gotta scroll up now. I missed something. Wow, it's way back there then. I don't see any comments on lighthouses. I think I've looked at all of your comments. Was it on a different the front of the tee box cuts off a lot of the view before the fairway. On 4? Yeah, it's I mean, or was it on a different hole? Because I mean, you missed the valley, but I think you can see almost everything, like all the playing surfaces on this one. Huh. I can move the tee up in the box a little bit. I didn't think that one was that bad personally. Like, yeah, you can't see everything below the hole, but I don't have anything there yet anyway, so that can be tweaked. Let's make it small for now. Of course. You're entitled to your opinion. I'll move it. Just because. I need to move it back slightly for now. Because it's changing this front edge a little. Yeah, it's not a whole lot better. It's a little better, but that's the hazards to raised, or the hazards of raised tee boxes, is it's really hard to frame everything nicely if it sits so far above I mean, it's funny. I don't quite see what you're seeing, because before it was sitting. You can see my cursor on stream, right? I can't remember. But when you're sitting at the tee, the bottom of the tee box was sitting here, and now it's, it sits maybe an half inch lower on my monitor, where it just sits here. So all I'm seeing is a little bit of that hill in front of the fairway. uh, I will never not like Robert Kraft jokes. He deserves all of the crap that is headed his way. 'Cause, yeah, before I thought the lip of the tee box only went to here, so you're seeing is a little bit of this hill. I mean, it's definitely an improvement, but I don't think it's a major improvement. Well, at least the good news is I can consistently keep the ball in the fairway now, so there you go. Sorry, I moved the cursor. The hazards of designing on mouse and keyboard. Come on, Eric, that's your thing. I don't want to steal your thing. Deleting courses in a huff is like your style. That's your trademark. I think I'm gonna accidentally leave that cursor in the middle of the screen a lot. Of just when you do rapid playtesting, and that sort of thing. Like you're clicking through menus, and you end up leaving it in the middle of the screen, and after you do that enough times, you just kind of forget that it's there, and you just see right through it. So I forget that it's there most of the time. You gotta have the sunglasses joke. Get some Who's screaming in the background. Well, all in all, this is, I mean, granted, I'm at almost an hour and 20 minutes, but I haven't really been designing much for the last 20 minutes, so I think this still counts. That's not bad for an hour's work. Oh, I can delete that. Let's get rid of the obnoxious distance markers. There we go. That looks much better. Bunker kind of blocks the view a little bit, so I might have to raise or lower that slightly or something. But we'll figure it out. Is chipping in this game harder than in real life? Yeah, it's really finicky in this game. It's a little obnoxious. Also, nobody tends to miss chips by 5 yards one way or the other like you can in this game. But anyway, I think that's probably a good place to cut it for tonight. But thanks everybody for stopping by. I'll definitely be continuing the new show idea at least for a couple more episodes just to get a feel for how this is gonna work, or just to see if I think I even remotely have a shot at finishing this course in 24 hours. What about this discussion about the tee? I missed the start of what he said. Oh, Eric was just saying that I lowered the tee slightly. Or, no, I didn't lower it. I moved the actual marker up in the box a bit because when it was sitting in the middle, the front of the tee box was blocking a lot of this sculpting in front, and it was bugging Eric, so I moved it up so that you can see slightly more of the sculpting in front. But yeah, you didn't miss any groundbreaking discussion, just me and Eric sassing each other. But yeah, anyways, I'd love to hang around for another hour or whatnot, but I still gotta get working on chores and cooking lunches. I gotta get started on cooking lunches for the week, and I don't want to be up too terribly late, so it's as good a time to cut it as any. And as always, Eric is always right. So, anyways, thanks again. Hopefully I'll see everybody next week. Until then, have a good evening.